This conference will now be recorded.
I'd like to call to order the regular October 16th, 2023 council meeting to order at 7 p.m. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, any additions or corrections to the agenda?
I'll move to accept the agenda as written.
Okay, so moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Norman.
Counselor Normand,
Aye.
Mayor Hobart,
Aye.
Counselor Webb,
Aye.
motion carried.
Susan, are you with us tonight?
No, that's just you guys. There's nobody else.
Okay. No presentations, I take it?
No presentation.
Okay, moving right into the mayor's report. It was my honor this month to select the Citizen of the Month, and I chose Mark Brown. When I called Mark last week, I asked him a simple question. When and why did you come to Vernonia? And his answer really solidified my choice for this month of choosing Mark for Citizen of the Month, because his answer was, I came to help a friend after the 96 flood. And that was, if I do my math right, that was about 27 years ago. So ever since Mark arrived to help his friend, he's been helping countless others. I think he's been at the school district as a head janitor for 17 years, if I'm correct, Mark, right? And I've talked to some of the teachers, and they described, they were asked the question, and I can't remember what kind of assembly it was at the school, but who's the one person that helps them the most? And it was unanimous that Mark Brown helped every teacher and every student in that district, in the school. So you've been quite an asset to our community, the faith community as well, Mark. And now you're chaplain at the fire department and do wonderful work for our volunteer fire department. So it's with an honor I recognize you, Mark, as citizen for the month of October.
Yes.
There's worse things to have your picture taken.
There are worse things. Not upside down.
1, 2, 3, and we'll do one more, and one more. Mark, can you give me a little smile? Okay.
I'd stay, but I have another meeting to go to. So,
Thank you, Mark.
thank Mark.
He's off to another meeting. So. Last week, Councilor Norman and I attended the citywide dinner over at Rainier, and great turnout, great meeting. I can remember who all was there. All 3 county commissioners were there. Senator Tim Knopp was the guest speaker out of Salem. Senator Weber was there. Betsy Johnson was there. Tony Hyde was there. Really good meeting. For the very first time, I heard a lot of talk and rhetoric of Measure 110. And for the very first time also, I I heard about one of the major problems of homelessness is drug addiction. And so there was a lot of discussion. They're moving forward in the Oregon legislature with this issue. It's a big problem. It hasn't panned out quite like they had hoped when it was put into law 2 years ago. So there's a lot of people that are trying to probably not only repeal it, but trying to fix it, if you will.
Yeah.
So I've been asked to sit on a panel. I'm going to, with Margaret Magruder on the 24th there's a panel of the Oregon Association of Counties and the League of Cities. And so I've been asked to sit on that panel. I did speak. I stood up and told everyone that I was an alcoholic and a drug addict, and I went through inpatient treatment 35 years ago. I understand addiction, and I wanted to help and to put my 2 cents in. So I'll keep you posted on that Measure 110. I think it's, it affects everybody in our whole state. And it's not working. It's my opinion, 85% of the homeless population is drug addicted. And my opinion, again, is you could throw all the low income housing and millions of dollars toward it, and it's not going to help it. And so hopefully we can, I've been doing a lot of thinking about this, and it's taken quite a while to get to the point where we're at now. I think it's going to take another decade if we can even turn it around. There's quite a shortage of treatment centers in the state of Oregon now. Oregon State Mental Hospital is no longer in Salem. I just saw an article last week. The public shortage of public defenders is a crisis now in Ben, what's that county? Deschutes County. There's no public defenders. It's even worse in Portland. So, our cities or counties, and can't hold these people. They can't afford it. So they're just turning them loose, and there's no public defenders to take their cases on. So it's a real problem. So, but anyway, at least the problem is recognized, and so there's a little bit of hope, I think. So anyway, I just want, you have anything to add to that?
Nope.
Besides the food was really good too.
Food was good.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to report on that.
You're going to sit on, what did you call it?
Panel.
It's a panel.
Okay.
They're looking for either repeal or reform measures, things they could potentially
Take
amend.
Oregon legislator.
Yeah.
So on Measure 110.
110. Yep.
Great, thank you.
So it sounds like everybody's dealing with water and sewer issues too, like us. Seems like every county,
Yeah.
they were talking about things.
Yeah.
Water and sewer and infrastructure was a big topic.
Yeah. Which is what we're dealing with too.
Yeah.
I talked a little bit about, the ordinance that we're hopefully approving tonight, what we were working on the last 5 years with the urban growth boundary transfer. And see, what else did I share with the group? But I think that was basically about it, but it's a good meeting. Yeah. So, okay, moving right into council committee meeting reports.
Nope.
Dale?
No, we didn't have.
I attended the senior board meeting Friday. Pretty much run-of-the-mill meeting. Last month, well, being the month of September, they allocated 541 meals, total meals, 293 congregant. They delivered 215 home delivered meals. There was some discussion, and I think Teresa and Toby probably will get back to you, Josette, about possibly setting up in the community center individual vendor tables, and there was some.
At the thrift store?
Yes.
Yeah, Teresa talked to me about it, and they don't have anything in their lease that prohibits them from that. I did give her some advice on developing a process so it would be fair, because they're going to have limited space and maybe a number of people wanting to be there. It also helped them with theft by having a person sitting at their own table or taking turns sitting at the craft homemade tables. They'll deter someone from lifting stuff out of that back room, which has been a problem for them.
Yeah. So. Yeah, one of their concerns was insurance things. I don't know if that has anything to do.
No, they have to carry their own, and
Their own.
it's already under our liability, so it wouldn't mess it up for them to sell handmade items. Yeah.
Okay. That's about all I have to report on that meeting, so. Okay. Topics from the floor.
So we just have one.
Okay. Frank and Amy Saloa. Frank, if you want to come up to the dais right there, just state your name. You don't have to state your address. We're not stating our address anymore for security reasons. So.
No, we're just checking back with the report on what's going on with the homeless camp behind our house.
Okay.
There was supposed to be someone doing a report or
Yeah.
fact gathering.
They're not done with that, so our plan is to submit it to council on the 6th.
Okay.
They,
How often are your meetings? I wasn't.
every 2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks.
Yes, the first and third Mondays of the month, they got asked to start collecting it the first Monday of October, and they're not done with the detail sheets.
Okay.
So I've gotten preliminary ones, and they've been to that property 36 times. So that will be in the report,
Okay.
but the dates and time, code enforcement.
Okay.
So that will be part of the bigger report, but the report also will let council know what is the code on a property like that, why it is allowed to camp on your own property in the currently in the city of Vernonia. You are allowed to camp on your property.
Is there a time limit on that?
There isn't.
Oh.
If they don't have a structure, there is nothing in code or land use code in the state that prohibits someone from that. Structures would be the thing. And so without changing Title IX, we can't just kick someone out of camping on their own property currently.
I mean, I'm not standing up there, but we're the only people here. So
Yeah.
the people that are camping back there, first of all, it's not their, most of the people back there, it's not their property, it's Robert Wagner's property.
Right.
And second of all, they're back there. I mean, there's been connexes and
Yep.
homes.
There's a new wood.
Yeah, so
It's not just tents. I mean, there are tents,
Yeah.
but there's a bunch of other stuff too.
So in the bigger report, it will outline what we can cite against, what we can't, what's allowed, what's not allowed, all of that will be in the report that goes to council.
And will it show like, I mean, I'm assuming you can't cite the people that are just living free off the land and doing whatever they please back there. But I'm assuming if there's any citations, that those would go to Robert Wagner. And if you're saying that code enforcement has been up there 36 times, which I'm going to say I find very hard to believe, I don't buy that at all, even though.
Well, it's on,
I'm just saying, like, I find that very hard to believe.
that's unfortunate. that you
live
say
there.
that publicly, but okay.
As well, her parents live right across the street.
I'm well aware where everyone lives and I'm well aware of the dates and times that code enforcement went up there. So
Well, I'm just saying, like,
I'll say that publicly. It's not the system. It is sad that nothing's being done about it.
and to look back, I know, when Steve and I spoke last week, we talked about this being ongoing for, we assumed maybe around 5 years. He told me the other day, he looked back at a photo he had taken, and actually it was 7 years ago, if that helps. So it was dated, on one of his things that he had taken of, I think it was the day they were driving next up.
To the council's knowledge, is this occurring elsewhere in the city that people are living in tents on their private property?
Not that I'm aware of.
it actually is.
I think on Birch, yeah, on Birch.
For
And
that length of time?
yeah, he's been there a couple of years.
At least 4 years.
Yeah.
What's he do with all his waste?
On Birch, they have a compostable toilet.
That seems reasonable.
So
But will the report show if Mr. Wagner has received numerous citations over the past handful of years?
it won't because that'd have to be a public records request from a citizen. The city can't out someone for the citations they've given, but you guys could request it. And there have been citations, so you could.
So who would we request that from?
From the police department, just a public records request. And I'll show you. And then what happened in court, that would be here at Justice Court. So they would have the results of what happened in court because it has gone to court.
I mean, I would think if they've been up there 36 times, there has to be quite a few citations along with that. I would think that maybe they would, I don't know. It's an ongoing.
Yeah.
So, it's an ongoing problem.
Are there neighbors around the Birch property?
There are.
Yeah.
And people are totally content with that? Fine with the tent?
We haven't had any, but it's a different sitch, right?
Oh, okay.
So they're living in like a yurt type
Oh, yeah,
structure. So it's more of a homesteaded
absolutely.
type of feel.
Right.
So I don't think the neighbors have the issue. If they had connexes and the other stuff, maybe they would also not like the issue,
Yeah.
but it's a different
The
sitch.
pit bulls and the drug paraphernalia.
Yeah.
That's also a
I
problem.
don't know all about it because that's not my department, but,
It's not in your backyard.
well, no, it's just not, it's the police department's deal, so.
So come back on the 6th, is what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Yeah, and the report should be in their packet, so it should be published on the Wednesday before.
Okay.
Whatever they get in their packet is
One of the-
on the website the Wednesday before as a document you could download.
Or to be in that.
Yeah.
In November.
Okay.
Well,
We'll see you.
thanks for your
Okay.
time, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank
guys.
you.
For listening.
Consent agenda for acceptance. Park committee meeting minutes for July 2023. Library board meeting minutes for September 2023.
Any questions on those or?
I'll move
Yep.
to accept the consent agenda for acceptance.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Council Norman.
Counselor Webb?
Aye.
Counselor Normand?
Aye.
Mayor Hobart?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Consent agenda for approval. City council meeting minutes for September 19th, 2023.
Questions or corrections on your minutes? I'm double dutying here, sorry.
There you are. I'll move to accept the consent agenda for approval.
Thank you, Councilor Webb. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Councilor Norman.
Counselor Webb?
Aye.
Mayor Hobart?
Aye.
Counselor Normand?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Moving right into unfinished business, staff report. Walk your wheels, page 9.
So we didn't include the ordinance again because you already all received it via email, bless you. So Stephanie's wondering if you are really looking to do changes to the ordinance, it's probably better to do a work session to discuss all the parts instead of trying to bog down a council meeting. Typically that work would be done in a work session. So if there's interest, you guys could kind of consensus that you want to schedule a work session and then we would schedule it at a future date once we had all the available dates. You guys are available.
Josette, I've read the ordinance and 908 was enacted in 2015. There was a pretty good reason why it was enacted. As a result, some signage was placed in both ends of Main Street there from Weed to Adams, as it's described in the ordinance. Plus, from Texas to California, that narrow pedestrian path. I think it's a very good ordinance. It keeps our citizens safe if it's enforced. I'm okay with the ordinance. I don't think it should be appealed or
Amended.
amended. Thank you. I'd like to see more proactive effort in enforcing it, and whether it be warnings for first time offense. But I think it's a good ordinance, and you know, there's some discussion at the last meeting about this topic, about the hill going up Boy Hill, and wasn't there a bad accident, a bad injury there on that?
There was in the, initially, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it's wide enough to ride your bike down and up it. I think if we change it, it's just a matter of time of somebody getting hurt. After we put the skate park in, there's quite a bit more activity and bicycle activity and skateboards from the school down to town. And it's just kind of the nature of the beast. But I'm glad it looks like they're having a bike-a-thon or a bike thing in November 4th at the school. I think that's a good starting point where we could educate our youth on that and the importance of wearing a helmet when you're under 16. And that's a start for me. Anybody else have anything to add to that or want to add to it, Dale?
Yeah, you know, and I was raising the issue about the path up the hill, but I could tell the rest of the council wasn't agreeing, so I'm not going to push that.
Okay.
I mean, to amend the ordinance, it's a lot of work. How well are we signed up? Because it's not just Main Street, it's what, Jefferson? Isn't in by the supermarket supposed to be?
No, so it was the main,
It's just the main strike. It's not in front of the supermarket.
yeah.
Hmm.
In the ordinance, it's that downtown 4 blocks on Highway 47 and then the hill, bless you.
Okay. Yeah, for some reason I was
I
impressed.
thought it mentioned Madison. Didn't it mention Madison's in the ordinance?
I don't think so. I'd have
To look at it.
I'd have to pull it up. I don't think it is.
Okay.
Because there's nothing, unless it just references the cross streets as the blocks,
I think
but not like Madison to Weed or Madison to, what's that back one? What's the weird little,
Shea Lane.
yeah, Shady Lane, there you go.
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
So do you guys feel like there's enough to have a work session on? And we bring back like scheduling it to the next one, or you think it's no? And we just do the education and then once the education thing
I
happens.
think we need a work session on it.
I don't think we want to go through the motion of amending the ordinance or at this time.
So just an information and education campaign and then.
Education and then the enforcement.
Enforcement, yeah.
And I know our police
Do you agree?
is probably stretched, only two
Yeah.
people, but there's probably still opportunities that.
Yeah.
Because I seen one tonight.
Oh, man.
Have a guy on his wheels going behind a pickup. But true value is pickup's trying to back up into the street. It could have been really bad.
Any new business, Josette?
No.
No? Okay. Business from the departments. Ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance number 942, amending the urban growth boundary. Drum roll.
Ta-da.
The last time you did it.
If they vote unanimously, we could read it twice in one night. But if they don't vote unanimously, you'll hear it and see it again on the 6th.
And as long as it goes through on that end smoothly.
Yeah, we have our county hearings coming up, so I think it's going to go through smoothly.
Yeah.
They've all preemptively blessed it.
Yeah.
Any discussion or questions on ordinance number 942?
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance number 942, amending their urban growth boundary.
Thank you, Donald. Motion was made to amend 942.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Counselor Webb.
I'll call the roll. Mayor Hobart,
Aye.
Counselor Normand,
Aye.
Counselor Webb,
Aye.
motion carried. Does any council member wish the ordinance to be read in full? Okay, so this is the first reading of ordinance 942, an ordinance of the city of Vernonia amending the urban growth boundary and repealing ordinance 939. So you can do it the second reading if you'd like, by another motion.
Move. We adopt ordinance number 942, an ordinance of the city of Vernonia amending the urban growth boundary and repealing ordinance 939.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Norman.
Counselor Normand,
Aye.
Mayor Hobart,
Aye.
Counselor Webb,
All right.
motion carried. This is the second reading of ordinance 942 by title only. Oh, sorry, does anyone wish it to be read in full? No. This is the second reading of ordinance 942 by title only, an ordinance of the city of Vernonia amending the urban growth boundary and repealing ordinance 939.
That's what this
A
does.
lot of work, people.
So now what happens? It has to go to the county.
So we have to have a county public hearing that we're swapping our UGB properties. And then once the county blesses it, the final thing goes to the Division of State Lands and they change the urban growth boundary.
Okay, thank you. Trying to figure out how to report this.
Yeah.
It's-
So we'll have a county public hearing. I want to say that it's in November.
Okay.
I can get you the date if you need it. Yeah.
So it's coming to fruition and a closing for all the work that's been going on for the last 5 years.
Yeah, so I started with Matt. Yeah.
Too bad there's not more people here.
I know.
Seriously, I
I
mean,
know.
actually, it's our future growth of Vernonia, and tonight we just made history.
Yeah,
I mean, seriously.
yeah.
Our future control group.
I didn't have as much to do with it as probably most people did, but I had a little bit to do with it, and it's an honor for me to, it'll be an honor for me to sign it. Okay, correspondence, Vernonia Bike Rodeo. Page 58. So I know they haven't had one of these for a while.
No, the last one was probably 12 years ago, and it was at the fire department when my daughter was little.
Yeah,
She was, I think, 6 when we got a helmet there. It was like a helmet, free helmet round.
yeah,
This one's going to be a little bit more about rules of in addition to the helmets and bike safety and checking people's bikes and tuning them up and potentially bike giveaway helmet, fancy helmet giveaway. They're going to do rules of the road, how to interact with people when you do approach them on a sidewalk, that kind of education component. And this will just be for grades K through 5. And then in the spring, they'll do a junior high, high school one, split them up. And they did it on a weekend so that, because a lot of kids don't ride their bikes to school, so that parents could drive their kids up with the bikes
yeah.
and be part of it.
I saw an email today that came out from Jerry Keenan to the Lions Club members, and I guess Sergeant Carnahan's meeting with the Lions tomorrow, and I have a good idea. He's going to be talking about
Bike safety and.
maybe the Lions helping out with the purchasing of helmets, and we've done that in the past. So it's a good thing, and you know, maybe Scott, you could put a little dig in the paper for letting them know that, you know, 16 and under require a helmet. And this is a good promotional tool, if you will, to maybe help with that law. So.
Yeah.
Would you be able to send me the ordinance?
For the walker wheels? Yeah.
We'll do something to try to get in this paper this week, Friday to the rodeo, and kind of throw all that stuff together.
Yeah.
Go out and get a picture of one of the signs and remind everybody what it's about. Kind of wait to see where you guys were going with it before we did much, but yeah, we can do that next time.
Okay, city admin report.
Okay, so it feels like we just talked about everything because we did. Priorities work session. So I was like, this is ridiculous. It's going to sound dumb, but a couple things have changed. So the DEQ, that's still happening for the decommissioning the old dump well. We did get notification though that we were awarded the SCA grant. So we do have the $250,000 to do all of the tree streets, all of the streets we submitted to you guys in the ask originally. And we have enough money in streets that we're going to include the bottom block of Nehalem and get that dealt with, chip sealed, where Mr. Brewer had talked about. It's not in the SCA grant, but we have the funds in the streets fund to be able to add that to the contractor's task list and get that dealt with and sealed up and good to go for another few years. So that's exciting. Storm Ready City, still nothing. Cab visit, we are working on our requests. Ben's, we still haven't gotten our final list of what they want done. We're just going off of what they discussed with us at our meetings. But Ben has already developed a binder and we're making copies of every floodplain development permit we issue, which we were keeping them in the property file because that's the easiest way for us to reference them when someone's talking about a specific property. but they would like them all in one binder, which really is a useless tool to us. So we're making a copy of everyone and putting it in the binder for them, but keeping it in the property file for ourselves, the original. So when someone says, well, they put a fence in, we can go pull the property file and have the facts in front of us for each property. So he's working on those and with all the other things he's doing. We're still waiting till December 15th for the docks grant commission meeting where they'll award us the money that we've been recommended to get for replacing the docks. And I had talked to Counselor Webb about, and all of you about potentially tweaking those other grants to be the actual boat ramp fix. So I do have Lower Columbia getting me estimates of what different fixes would cost so that I can see if those grants will really cover that cost, or if it's something we should hold off on applying for those grants until we can apply for a bigger one that would cover the majority of the cost. They've done both versions. They've done a push-in one. They've also done one where they basically put kind of a balloon float, fill it with water, and then pump out the water and do excavation inside, basically holding the water back with a dam, a portable dam. So they've done both types. So I said, well, get me estimates for both to see where our numbers fall. Are these grants going to cover it? Are they only going to cover a quarter of it? What are we doing before I go ask for the specific boat ramp fix?
Josette, how much was the total figure? Wasn't it 80 some thousand?
For the docks?
Yeah.
It's 186,000 is what.
186. Whoa,
That's what we were.
I was off 100.
Yeah. And that includes the
Wow.
walk-on dock. So it's both
Okay.
the platforms for the two docks. As I said before, we're reusing the railing. And we already have the gang plank or the walkway with grading. So it's just the platforms with the floats under in a metal, not a wood is what.
Oh, good idea.
ODF&W has gotten away from pressure treated wood. They don't like that it potentially leaches into the water source. And so the metal is becoming metal or like a weird fiberglass version, but that's too new for me. Let's just stick with metal. I don't want to risk it with some fiberglass thing they haven't fully tested for a long, long time, in marina type applications. So the ADA project. So Robert has sent in the 10 crossings were requesting to be removed or amended. One of them is here at Rose Avenue. They want one across from Rob's, which is a nightmare and is hugely dangerous from our perspective. They want 3 new ones at Adams and one at Adams on the top end of Adams, which runs right into the front of the Rock Creek building, and then 2 at Park Drive, which seems super dangerous and overkill and not really where we want to be sending people. They have the one at Myers that we don't agree with. And then they have the one at California Avenue at the bottom of the hill as people are coming down, which we don't agree with either. So we're putting our best effort into try and show them what they're not seeing aerially by doing the engineers are kind of like, their line of sight is this, putting some facts to it. Because when they're designing stuff, they're just looking aerially and plopping down what they believe fits the lawsuit. And we're trying to push back on those. So for the safety of our citizens. Work in progress is still going on for the park doors at Hawkins. And then I've had to add a couple things to the electrical project. I got told today that the parking lights behind VCLC, Donna was in pitch black. So we're checking the photo cell on those. And if it's not a photo cell or an out light bulb, then we'll get the electrician involved because it really needs to have lighting back behind that building for safety. And volunteers were going in at night and it was just, they're walking out into nothing.
Where at?
Darkness behind the thrift store.
Oh, yeah. theft going on
Yeah.
out of the
People
drop
Getting in the,
drop box.
trying to think what else has happened since we talked a week ago. It's kind of all I know, unless you guys have specific questions for me.
Just, I was gonna mention on the lake lights, I think we're down to one light now.
One still isn't working?
One right in the back.
Straight back?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the one on the, by the dock, east dock is working now.
Okay. I'll write that down.
See, were you gonna call Joe about the cameras or, I mean,
Yeah, I haven't got a chance to talk to him yet.
okay,
My day was filled with a lot of, we had, unfortunately, while they were gone getting new antiques, Penny Lane had a toilet that was just
oh, no.
flowing out.
And nobody,
That was us. So we went and checked the manholes and they said, well, we saw the guys jetting. Someone saw the guys jetting. Well, they weren't jetting. Jonathan was power washing the manholes that we're potentially going to be dealing with, not the sewer jetter. And what we think happens is they had either collapsed, either the lateral slipped off the saddle, which can happen, and then only this much sewer is getting out because that building's going to be 100 next year. So that sewer lateral has been in the ground a long time, but they do have an upstairs apartment. So if their lateral is clogged, it's somehow coming back out their lowest adjacent thing. So my whole day was making sure it wasn't us contributing to that problem, which we investigated everything and it wasn't. And they already had the plumber there today, so it worked out good.
Josette, last week I was driving my school bus at the school and I went right past the entrance like I'm going out around to the stop sign and to go out. I looked up on the hill right below Texas and I looked at a whole bunch of water
They did.
down off and I told Jonathan about it and he said, I'll go look, check it out. What was it?
It was a water leak. The lateral that feeds all those people broke.
Again.
Yeah.
Hey,
Second time in its history.
do I get an attaboy?
There you go.
All right.
So yeah, it was a water leak up in
Wow.
Texas.
So
Yeah.
we monitor at the bottom of the hill there? For those people, how do we do water for them?
What do you mean?
Well,
Where are their meters?
yeah.
So their meters, because it was before the moratorium,
Oh,
are nearer their,
Near their home.
it's like the Noakes one. That section before you get to,
so we own that line? Okay.
so it's been a water and sewer week, already, and it's only Monday.
I think it was
Last week it was, yeah.
last week and I looked up there. What the heck? Where's all that water? So
Yeah.
well, glad we found it.
So yeah, other than that, we're just trucking along. I'm redoing the no exposure certification for the transfer station. Because every 5 years we have to certify that we're not shedding any polluted water into the waterways of the state. So I'm doing that with DEQ and the planner for a land use compatibility statement. So we're almost finished to turn that in. It doesn't expire till November 27th, but I'm getting it in this month so they have their time to make sure they like everything. And then waste management hasn't increased the rates since 2018. And because I got a call from Dave Huber, who is the gentleman that came to you last in 2018 with Greg Johnson, who's the route manager for Columbia County and Washington County. Their fees got upped where they take their garbage and they're like, it has to trickle down. So they're going to be coming to us with an increase for waste management and for the transfer station minimum fee. So I think that's going to be on the 6th.
We were just commenting that our rate hasn't gone up.
I know.
It seemed like a really long.
It is and they're, yeah.
Something out loud.
You manifested the
Oh,
priorities
The
that.
transfer station road is probably in the best shape it's ever been in.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's, there,
Yeah.
it's in good shape.
They still have an issue with people keep cutting their chain link to get in there. I don't know what they were thinking they're going to get because there's not a lot of scrap metal that they don't just haul off if it's worth anything. But they're just keep patching it. And every time one of the guys drives to the pump station and sees a cut, we call them, hey, it's cut again. And they keep webbing that thing together. It's just going to be strands by the end of it. But what can you do?
I'd have some suggestions, but not.
I know, not appropriate ones. I did, to update you, Dale, I did order our Willamette Valley Ponderosa pines. We're going to pick them up February 15th.
All right, cool.
Because we got advice from Mr. Holes that those take well to the conditions we have down on the old mill. So we're going to get 100 of them and mix them in.
Ponderosa?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's a Willamette Valley.
Yeah,
Like-
native to the Willamette.
Yeah, it's a native to Willamette Valley, so it deals with wetness better than,
Be neat having them around here.
yeah. Well, they planted some
They're beautiful.
down at the school, planted some down by the wetlands, and they seem to be liking where they live. So we're going to try it too.
Archie Das has got a plantation of them down on the end of Rose.
Oh,
His legacy down there.
oh,
Randy's planted some.
So we're going to mix them into our timber.
Elk were a little tough on his, he said, but we shouldn't have that problem. Maybe a cougar in there, but not.
Yeah, right. Any other questions?
oh.
Oh, another update. So we did get the background and psych returned for Ratcliffe, who was the first one of the candidates.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're doing a conditional offer of employment on Wednesday. And the hope would be that he accepts it and we get him into the January 29th academy.
Okay.
That's the next open academy, so.
How about the other candidate? How's their background?
Interestingly enough, so when someone works in security, DPSST requires that you review their employment file, the background person review it. We're having a little trouble getting the employment file because the employer doesn't want to lose the person as an employee. They have a statutory timeline that they have to give it to the background person, and we think they're going to push every bit of that statutory date. Hold off as long as they can, because we can't force them to give it to us. They have like 90 days, and we're like, seriously, you're going to hold the file and not, because you don't want to lose that person as an employee? All right. So that's where we're at with that. But the background person's done everything else except for that review. So hopefully we'll get their employment file soon. Make sure everything's on the up and up with that.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you, Josette.
Sure.
Items from the mayor and council. I don't have anything. Anybody else?
I think we probably had the warmest salmon festival we've ever had.
It was warm.
And it looks like it went well.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to the homeless thing.
Yes.
So in this report, I think council, well, I'm not going to speak for the other.
Okay.
Speak for myself. I don't need to, I don't know how I'm going to phrase this.
Okay.
We were talking about the citations that have been issued
Mm-hmm.
and that they'd have to do a public records request. But I would think for myself as a counselor, I would be curious to how many times we have cited, and I'd also kind of what the disposition was of that. Because it could be on the disposition end of it, that's a failure. And, if we're doing our job and then the judge isn't holding their feet to the fire. Is there a legal aspect to why?
Yeah, you don't really put people's citations in public record.
In public record?
Because then you're kind of really stepping on it. You're like saying, that'd be like someone saying, how many traffic tickets did so-and-so get? And then it's all plastered over a public meeting. That's why citizens can do it. That person has been cited and fined. So they are paying money for them not following the rules that we require them to follow.
And I mean, yeah, that's what for us to be informed. I mean, you're telling me that right now that they've been cited, they've been held accountable and fined. So I mean, you're telling me that part of it. What part of it do I need to know without crossing that line so that I actually know our system's working?
Well, so I think that's going to be the hiccup in that what Oregon land use law allows you to be restrictive when someone owns property. Oregon's probably one of the more liberal states in that the municipality can't come in and put a whole bunch of restrictions on someone's use of their property. That's a land use right. And that's what people don't like. When they don't like what their neighbor's doing, they want it to be some law they're breaking. There is no law in the state of Oregon that prohibits someone from camping on their own property. So it's like a fine line. The information I'm hoping to bring you will show you what we've done to the extent we can do it.
Right.
But you can't go tell someone, other than if it's for safety or human health or something like that. And I know they don't want to believe we've been up there that many times, but that's only 6 times a year for 5 years.
Yeah.
Right? Or 6 times a year for 6 years, right? So I don't believe they would be home every time. When I went up there with code enforcement, I didn't see the slows, right? So I know I've been up there when they didn't see us up there, right? Because we aren't engaging the neighbors. We're up there to look at properties and what they're doing or not doing. The flip side of that also is you can't tell someone that's camping there that they can't have a guest.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like a lot of laws that our hands are kind of tied. We're doing what we can do. If we saw human everywhere, that would easily be citable. If we saw garbage burnt, we could cite that. Like there's all these things in code enforcement for public protection you can do. And then there's a whole bunch you can't nitpick, right? I mean, we have properties where some people would think it looks horrible and some people call it yard art. Right? So our code's got to play fair with all the citizens and what they may want to do with their property. And we're just stuck reviewing them based on these requirements. If you wanted to make the requirements more stringent, we can do that, but it's stringent everywhere, right? It can't just be, we can't just be, oh, this guy's doing this one thing and we want to stop him from doing it. So we change the code. Then so-and-so also gets in trouble for it. And they're like, what? So that's what the report's going to show you. It's kind of like what code allows us to cite what we found on that property, how many times we visited, how many calls we've taken from neighbors, all the information about our interaction with that property.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And so I don't know how you'll feel about it. We do allow the other neighbor or another property to do the same camping thing. They've not had the same backlash around their neighbors, but they're not directly, they're not right abutting. They're kind of, they could see them from their backyard, but they're not really close to a house, if that makes sense, on Birch.
Can I ask just a question?
Yeah.
Do we know how they're handling human waste up there?
So they say they're doing the compostable toilet. We have not found any human like piles or a hole or a pit or a place they're going. And code enforcement's, okay, so this is the other thing. Code enforcement has developed a relationship where they're allowed to go on the property. In reality, they don't have to even let us come off of the platted right of way. If we can't see it from a platted right of way, we can't cite it. Just like I can't cite something in your backyard that I can't see from a public right of way. So there's a lot of ways that were hindered to total it, but she was allowed multiple times to go on all over the property. And so she looked for any little pile of toilet paper, anything that was going to tell her, oh, this is against the code, and has never found it. So they say they're using compostable toilet. So I get their frustration, but also where they're frustrated, someone else wants the right to use their property. So it's like, as a municipality, we're stuck in the middle of citing what we can from where we can, and then trying to, I don't know that short of nobody being on that property and it just being timber, would the neighbors feel like that was a win? Because maybe that's what they want, what they had when they first moved there, which I can understand. But it's a hard thing.
Yeah.
But
That's what we're looking for, a report that lays it out.
Yep.
Both sides of this and
Yeah.
what's been done
and the
and
neighbor
what avenues there are.
interactions that cause us to go up there and look for something was all the neighbors.
Yeah.
Because they'll call in and say, we saw this, or this is happening. And then that warrants us to go up again. We're not harassing someone. If there's a complaint,
Right.
Then we go check it out. So, but it's just a unfortunate situation. Because on one hand, somebody owns property and has a right to use it.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, they have a right to not like it. And all we can do is enforce the code.
Can I ask another question? Because I've had this question asked to me of people who have been following this story since it came out. So how does this relate to where we've had people living in RVs on private property and they were told they weren't allowed to do that?
So council has an ordinance against habitating and travel trailer without a permit. So you're allowed, if you're building a house, you're allowed to live in your RV. You have to tell us how you're having the sewer pumped. You have to tell us, a plan for taking care of the necessities that aren't there yet because you're building a house. Or if someone's ill, they can get up to 6 months for staying adjacent to someone with that same pumping plan and so there's not a human waste problem. But you can live adjacent, park in your daughter's driveway if she's terminal with cancer and help her or take care of the kids or whatever. That's a permitted process.
Yeah. That's what I forgot.
But camping, because there's not an actual structure, like as far as tents aren't, like a tent,
A permanent structure.
those aren't considered permanent in building code. So they don't have any hammer. But an RV is registered with the state, right? There's teeth there. You can say you can be in an RV with a permit, but it has to be in working order, has to be registered with a good registration with the state DMV. There's teeth to it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And when we find someone that is living in a trailer, then we warn them. And if they don't want to take our warning, then they get a citation as well. So it's just progressive. Yeah.
Anything else, Bill?
Fixing the leaks really helped on the pumping end. Like this afternoon, I checked it. We're 13.25 inches. We only got 3.25 inches to go and we'll be full.
My gosh.
Been accomplished before this year, I think,
Yeah. Have you checked
I checked the day before I went down, checked the leak. We're at 7.5 gallons.
Okay.
So still pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
So we'll cross our fingers and see if we can get the last 3.25 inches here.
Okay.
Oh,
That'll be good.
yeah, the rain helps a lot.
Yeah. All the pumping you don't have to do.
But it's definitely being able to make headway even without the rain. It's coming right up.
Good.
I think there was more leakage there than just what was going through that pipe. I think that whole dike area was, I got to pop down over. Because down below that overflow pipe down, a little floor. You could, there was water that was coming out of the ground down there. So
Oh.
I haven't been down there since we did that work to see if that's kind of dried up. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Okay, thank you, Dale. Action item summary.
Okay, so I have, it's not really action for tonight, but I have that on November 6th, you guys will be getting the report on the property off of G Street, the manhole project request with ARPA funds, and then I'm going to send Scott the Walk Your Wheels ordinance for his article. We're going to continue with education information and then move to enforcement with the Walk Your Wheels ordinance. Part of that is the roundup for the kids to understand the rules. And then I have one lake light that's still out straight back. That's what I have.
Okay. Okay, well, with that being said, I'll adjourn the meeting at 8 PM. Meeting adjourned.